Before you blame your legs, look at where your skirt ends. I learned this years ago in fitting rooms, and once you see it, sister, you can never unsee it. Every skirt draws an invisible line across your body, and wherever that line lands, the eye notices. It can make your legs appear longer. It can make your waist look cleaner. It can give your entire silhouette a sense of balance and quiet confidence. Or it can do exactly the opposite. If this is your first time here, welcome to Chic at 50. This is where we talk about style the way a designer thinks, not the way a rule book does. If that's the kind of conversation you want more of, take a moment now to subscribe to Chic at 50 so you never miss what's coming next. I don't believe a woman should suddenly stop wearing beautiful skirts because she's crossed 50. Your age is not the problem, and your body is not something that needs to be hidden. But some skirts are simply working against you. The wrong hemline can shorten the leg. Too much fabric can overwhelm your frame. The wrong waistband can add bulk exactly where you don't want it. And a skirt you have worn faithfully for 15 years may no longer be doing you any favors. Today, we're going to look at skirts the way a designer does, not by asking, "Is this too young for me?" but by asking better questions. Where does the eye stop? How does the fabric move? What happens to your proportions when you walk into a room? I'll show you which skirts I would reconsider at this stage, what I would wear instead, and a few small alterations that can transform pieces you already own. Because great style over 50 isn't about dressing younger, it's about making every line look intentional. The hemline lesson. Here is one of the most expensive-looking lessons in fashion, and it costs absolutely nothing to learn. A skirt can fit your waist perfectly and still fit your body completely wrong. I have seen this happen countless times in fitting rooms. A woman tries on her usual size, the zipper closes easily, the waistband feels comfortable, nothing pulls, nothing pinches, so she looks at the label and thinks, "This fits." But I am looking somewhere else. I am looking at where the skirt ends, because your size tells me whether you can get into the garment. It does not tell me whether the garment creates beautiful proportions on you. Imagine a midi skirt that ends directly across the fullest part of your calf. Add a flat shoe, and suddenly the lower half of the body can appear heavier and shorter. Now move that hemline slightly. Perhaps it finishes just below the knee. Perhaps it falls lower where the leg begins to narrow again. Same woman, same body, almost the same skirt, completely different impression. And this is where many women get distracted by the wrong problem. They look in the mirror and think their legs are too heavy or their body has changed too much. Sometimes neither is true. Sometimes the designer simply put the horizontal line in the wrong place for your proportions. Before buying your next skirt, do what I would do during a fitting. Put on the shoes you are actually likely to wear with it, step several feet away from the mirror, then look at the entire silhouette, not just your waist. For church, lunch with friends, or a family gathering, a beautifully placed hemline can make even a simple skirt and knit top look remarkably polished. And remember this rule: never buy the hemline just because you bought the waistline. But length is only part of the equation, because the next skirt can have a perfectly flattering hemline and still make you disappear underneath it. When a long skirt wears you. A long skirt should move with you. It should never arrive in the room before you do. That distinction matters more than most women realize. There's nothing inherently aging about a maxi skirt after 50. In fact, a beautifully cut long skirt can be one of the most elegant pieces in a mature woman's wardrobe. The problem begins when length is combined with too much volume, too many gathers at the waist, too much fabric around the hips, a hem that nearly touches the floor, then perhaps a long, loose cardigan on top. Individually, every piece may feel comfortable. Together, the woman disappears. In design, we think constantly about proportion. If the garment occupies too much visual space, your face, your posture, and your natural shape become secondary to the clothing, and clothing should never be more important than the woman wearing it. Picture two women walking into a casual dinner wearing long skirts. The first wears a very full maxi with a loose blouse hanging over the waistband. The fabric moves everywhere when she walks. The second wears an ankle-skimming, soft A-line skirt with a clean waistband and enough weight in the fabric to fall smoothly. Her top finishes closer to the body, and her shoes are visible beneath the hem. Nothing dramatic has happened, but the second outfit feels calmer, taller, and far more intentional. Not younger, not trendier, simply better designed. If you love long skirts, keep wearing them. Just look for controlled movement rather than enormous volume. Soft A-lines, subtle column shapes, and fluid skirts that skim rather than engulf the body are excellent places to start. For travel, weekend outings, or a smart casual dinner, they can give you comfort without sacrificing presence. Here is my test. Walk 10 steps in the skirt. If you notice the fabric before you notice yourself, there may simply be too much of it. But there is another mistake that is much harder to spot. Sometimes the skirt isn't too long at all. It is wrong by only 2 inches. The 2-inch rule. 2 inches of fabric can change the way you see your entire body. I know that sounds almost ridiculous, but I have watched it happen in fitting rooms for years. A woman puts on a skirt and immediately says, "My legs don't look good in this." Before changing the skirt, I change one thing. I pin the hem. Sometimes I raise it 2 inches. Sometimes I lower it. And suddenly she stands differently. Her legs look longer. Her shoes make more sense. The skirt feels lighter. Even her posture seems more confident. Her body did not change. The line did. This is why I am very careful with skirts that finish at the widest part of the calf. That horizontal edge tells the eye exactly where to stop, and on some women it can visually shorten and widen the lower leg. But please don't turn this into another rigid rule that says every woman must wear her skirts at one particular length. That is not how good design works. Your height matters. Your calf shape matters. Your shoes matter. The proportions of your torso matter. So here is something I want you to try before you buy another skirt. Put on one you already own and wear the shoes you normally pair with it. Stand in front of a full-length mirror and take a photograph. Then fold the hem underneath by about 2 inches. Take another photograph. Now try slightly longer if the construction allows it. Don't stare at your knees or criticize your legs. Compare the complete silhouettes. This sounds small, but it changes everything. For dinner, church, or an afternoon gathering, that tiny adjustment can be the difference between an outfit that feels slightly awkward and one that suddenly looks beautifully composed. And sometimes the smartest purchase isn't another skirt at all. It is a simple alteration to the one already hanging in your closet. A sophisticated woman doesn't obey arbitrary rules about what she is allowed to show. She learns where her best lines are, and she uses them deliberately. But hemline placement is only half the story, because sometimes the length is perfect, the shoes are perfect, and the outfit still feels heavy. When that happens, I look upward, straight at the waistband. The waistband paradox. There is a moment in many women's lives when comfort stops being a preference and becomes non-negotiable. I respect that completely, but comfort should never require you to disappear. Bodies change. The waist may become softer, weight may settle differently around the middle. Something that felt effortless 10 years ago may now feel restrictive by lunchtime. So, naturally, many women reach for more room, a wider waistband, a fuller skirt, more gathers around the stomach and hips. It feels forgiving. But here's the designer's paradox. The more fabric you add to hide an area, the larger that area can sometimes appear. Imagine a soft, elastic waist skirt with heavy gathering beginning directly at the stomach. Those gathers have to go somewhere. They create volume before the fabric has had a chance to fall. Now compare that with a skirt that has a clean, flat front and gentle ease through the hips before opening into a soft A-line. Both can be comfortable, but only one is adding unnecessary architecture to the body. Comfort matters, but sloppy comfort and effortless style are not the same thing. For everyday errands, lunch with friends, or a long travel day, look for skirts that give you room through construction rather than simply through excess fabric. A soft A-line is excellent. A well-cut bias skirt can move beautifully. A flat front waistband with elastic discreetly placed at the back can offer tremendous comfort without creating bulk across the stomach. And pay attention to fabric. You want enough substance for the skirt to fall cleanly, but enough movement that it doesn't feel stiff. Now, here's the part I wish more women heard at this stage of life. You do not need to earn the right to wear clothes that show your shape, and you do not need to hide every part of your body that is changed. A sophisticated woman doesn't ask her clothes to hide her. She asks them to frame her. That is the difference between ease and excess. One gives your body room to live. The other can quietly erase it. And speaking of shape, there is one skirt I would never tell you to throw away simply because you turned 50, 60, or beyond. In fact, I think we've been blaming the wrong version of it for years. Let's talk about the pencil skirt. The pencil skirt reconsidered. If I were editing your wardrobe, I would not automatically remove the pencil skirt. I would remove the version of it you were taught to buy 20 years ago. That distinction matters. For years, the classic pencil skirt was supposed to hug the hips, narrow sharply toward the knees, and create a very defined silhouette. It looked polished in theory, but when the fabric is thin, the cut is too tight, or the skirt pulls across the stomach and hips, something happens. Instead of following the body, it begins fighting the body. You see horizontal wrinkles, the pockets pull, the waistband rolls, and when you sit down, you spend the next 10 minutes adjusting everything once you stand up. That is not elegance, that is maintenance, and a truly sophisticated outfit should not need constant supervision. So I would not abandon the idea of a narrow skirt. I would modernize it. Look for a straighter silhouette that skims the hips instead of gripping them. A subtle column skirt can be especially beautiful because it creates one clean vertical line from waist to hem. Fabric matters enormously here. A substantial ponte knit, a structured stretch fabric, or a softly tailored wool blend can smooth the silhouette without feeling stiff. You want enough weight to create structure and enough flexibility to let you sit, walk, and live normally. Imagine wearing a dark, straight skirt with a fine knit top, a beautifully cut blazer, and a sleek loafer for a business casual lunch. For dinner, change the loafer for a refined low heel and add a simple piece of jewelry. Nothing is shouting for attention, yet the woman looks unmistakably polished. Not tight, not shapeless. Controlled. That is the difference. Style over 50 is not about proving you can still wear the silhouette you wore decades ago, and it certainly isn't about surrendering to clothes that hide you. It is about choosing the better version. So if your pencil skirt requires tugging, pulling, smoothing, or holding your stomach in all evening, let it go. But if a straight, beautifully weighted skirt follows your body without clinging to it, keep it. Good tailoring doesn't restrain a woman, it gives her shape without taking away her freedom. Now, we need to discuss something completely different, because even when the silhouette is perfect, there is one skirt that can still overwhelm you before anyone notices your face. And this time, the problem isn't the cut, it's the print. When the print speaks louder than you do. There is a point where an outfit stops introducing the woman and starts introducing the fabric. As a designer, that is usually when I know we have gone too far. Let me be clear, I do not believe a woman should be afraid of prints. A beautiful print can bring energy to the face, personality to a simple wardrobe, and sophistication to an otherwise quiet outfit. The problem is not print, the problem is competition. Imagine a full midi skirt covered in a large, high-contrast floral pattern. Now add generous pleating, a flowing blouse, decorative jewelry, and statement shoes. There may not be one bad item in that outfit, but your eye has received 5 different instructions at once. Look at the skirt. No, look at the blouse. No, look at the necklace. No, look at the shoes. And this is where most women get it completely wrong. More interest does not always create more style. Design needs hierarchy. Something should lead and something should support. If you love a printed skirt, let it lead. Pair it with a beautifully fitted solid knit or a simple blouse. Keep the shoe quiet. Let your jewelry support your face rather than compete with the pattern below it. And when choosing the skirt itself, notice more than the print. A large pattern on a very full skirt creates considerably more visual activity than that same pattern on a cleaner silhouette. And that brings us to the final skirt, except this time, I am not going to tell you what to stop wearing. I'm going to tell you which skirt I would save if I had to remove almost everything else from your closet. The one skirt worth keeping. Suppose I walked into your closet tomorrow and gave you a rather cruel challenge. You may keep only one type of skirt. Which one survives? I would not choose the trendiest one, I would not choose the most dramatic one, and I certainly would not choose the skirt that only works with one blouse, one pair of shoes, and one very specific occasion. I would keep what I call the quiet skirt. That is not an official fashion term. It is simply how I think about a beautifully designed skirt that does its job without demanding applause. It has a clean waistband, it skims the body without gripping it, it has enough structure to hold a flattering line, but enough movement to look natural when you walk. And most importantly, the hem ends at a place that works with your proportions. For many women, that might be a softly tailored A-line. For another, it could be a straight midi or a subtle column skirt. There is no magic silhouette for everybody. The magic is in how little the right skirt asks you to think about it. Picture an ordinary Saturday. You wear it with a fine knit and loafers for lunch. A few days later, you add a crisped shirt and a structured jacket for an appointment. Then you wear the same skirt to dinner with a low heel, a beautiful earring, and perhaps a softer top. 3 different situations, 1 dependable foundation. This is where a mature wardrobe becomes powerful. You stop collecting clothes for imaginary occasions and start choosing pieces that support your actual life. A well-dressed woman over 50 doesn't need a closet full of options. She needs better decisions. And better does not necessarily mean more expensive. A beautifully proportioned skirt in wool blend, ponte, cotton twill, or another substantial fabric can look far more refined than a costly designer skirt with the wrong cut. So when you shop, don't ask only, "Do I love this skirt?" Ask something more useful. How many versions of my life can this skirt come with me into? That question has saved me from recommending more unnecessary clothes than almost any other, because after decades around fashion, I have learned something surprisingly simple. The best designed clothes rarely make people remember the clothes. They make people remember how good the woman looked wearing them. And now, before we finish, I want you to look at your skirts one more time. But this time, I don't want you looking at them as a shopper. I want you looking at them as a designer would. The next time you put on a skirt and something feels wrong, I want you to resist the first instinct many women have. Don't immediately look at your body. Look at the skirt. Perhaps your legs don't need to be slimmer, perhaps your waist doesn't need to be smaller, and you certainly don't need to be younger. Maybe the hem simply needs to move 2 inches. Maybe the waistband needs less bulk. Maybe there is too much fabric around your hips, or the print is speaking so loudly that no one gets the chance to notice you. These are design problems, and design problems have solutions. That is the idea I hope you carry from today. Style over 50 is not a long list of things you are no longer allowed to wear. It is the ability to understand yourself well enough to choose better. You don't need 20 new skirts. You may need 1 excellent skirt, 2 small alterations, and the confidence to let go of pieces that no longer serve the woman you are today. Go to your closet after this video and look at the skirt you wear most often. If I were standing beside you in the fitting room, what is the one thing you would ask me to change about it? Tell me in the comments. I would genuinely love to know. And if you appreciate classic, practical style built for exactly where you are in life, subscribe to Ever Chic at 50 and join us for the next conversation. Because next time, we're moving just a few inches lower. We're talking about the shoes that can completely change the way every skirt in your wardrobe looks. And remember this, good design never asks a woman to apologize for the body she has today. It simply knows where to place the lines.